Hello and welcome back to another video. So you may well recognise this PC as the £450 budget gaming PC I put together on the channel about 3 months ago. To jog your memory, it's got a Ryzen 3 3100 and a GTX 1650, and for the price of £450 you were getting a pretty good entry-level gaming PC. And if you haven't seen that video, I did it as a full build guide. You'll find a link to it in the description. More recently, SILENTIUMPC reached out and asked if I wanted to test out their Fera 5 dual fan CPU cooler. And what I thought to myself is, what I could do is upgrade the stock cooler in this build with this cooler, because at only £30, this would be around about the price range you would want to use if you were going to upgrade the stock cooler. And you seem to be actually getting an awful lot for £30. You're getting a dual fan cooler with a TDP of 220 watts, which is definitely more than we're going to need to cool our Ryzen 3100. When I spoke to SILENTIUMPC and told them what I was planning to do, I asked them could they send me out some case fans as well, and they've sent me out 6 of their Fluctus PWM 120mm fans, which is the maximum number of fans that will fit in this case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to upgrade the CPU cooler, upgrade the case fans, and test the effects on this system. Most importantly, in terms of temperatures, in terms of noise levels, but importantly in terms of aesthetics. I'm also going to add in a few extra items. I've got a backplate for the GPU because whenever I built this, I was sticking quite tightly to a budget and it didn't stretch to a GPU backplate. And I might add in also a custom cable for the 24-pin connector. So hopefully if you are thinking of building a budget gaming PC, you'll find this video useful, because one of the biggest questions is, should I go with a stock cooler or should I spend a little bit more? And this video will give you an idea about what spending a little bit more actually gets you. Okay, let's make a start by getting this PC stripped down. Okay, so taking a look at the fan, the first thing I can see is I'm fairly impressed with the build quality. We've got rubber anti-vibration pads on all the corners on both sides of the fan. The other really nice thing that I'm noticing, we've got quite a short fan cable here, but on the end of it we've got a splitter cable which is going to allow you to daisy chain your fans. And this is going to be really useful for us in this particular build because our motherboard only has 3 chassis fan headers, but we're actually going to use 6 case fans. So a really nice feature. Again, a lot of you will be looking at this and going, this cable is far too short, but SILENTIUMPC have thought of that, and you've got an extension cable in the box. All you need to do is plug the end of the fan into the extension cable, and then you have a standard length cable. But where this is going to be really useful, if you're going to daisy chain the fans together, obviously you don't want lots of big long cables, so you can leave the extension cable out. So this is an absolutely brilliant feature that isn't found on a lot of high-end fans. I don't have a price for these fans yet, but my first impressions are very good. So this is our CPU cooler. We've got the same fans on the cooler, and as I've mentioned, it is a dual fan cooler. We've got a very attractive top plate in black, and my first impressions are all fairly good, and to me this looks like it should cost more than £30. Okay, let's go ahead and get this installed. So I'm going to show you how to install this on an AM4 socket with an AMD CPU. The cooler does come with a whole variety of mounting kit that will let you install it on a variety of Intel motherboards, so the steps may be slightly different if you've got a different motherboard and a different CPU. The first step to doing this motherboard is to remove the 2 clips. We already had to remove these to install our stock cooler, so we can go ahead and skip this step. Next we can go ahead and screw one of these spacers into each corner of the back plate. Then we can go ahead and line this mounting bracket up. Then we can go ahead and secure this down. Next we need to add some thermal paste to the CPU. My preferred method is to add a pea-sized amount to the centre of the CPU, and importantly the thermal paste is included. Just before we install our cooler, it is important to remove the plastic protection from the cold plate. Then we can go ahead and lower the cooler down, lining the screws on the cooler up with the bracket below. Then I'm just going to go ahead and tighten things up. I'm going to give each side a couple of turns. Next we can go ahead and line our fan up with the cooler. And then we've got these little metal clips which will help hold the cooler in place. So we can go ahead and put these through the holes in the front of the fans. And then all we need to do is apply some pressure, and it's going to clip in to the cooler on the side. And then just the same thing on the top. Get it caught through the holes in the fan. A little bit of pressure. And that's the front fan in place. We're going to want both our fans on the cooler bringing air in the same direction, in from the front of the case and out the back of the case. So we're going to have both our fans pointing the same way round, which means we're going to have to install our rear fan with the front of the fan, which is this side, facing up against the heatsink. What I'm now going to do is plug the PWM connector coming from our front fan into our CPU fan header, which is just here at the top of the motherboard. Okay, that's that plugged in. I'm just going to pull the excess cable through to the back of the case. I'm just going to take our cable coming from our rear fan through to the back of the case as well. Then at the back of the case, all I need to do is take the splitter cable coming from the fan we have plugged into our CPU fan header and add our rear fan into it. So now our CPU fan header is going to be controlling both the fans and will be running at the same speed. Okay, next we need to go ahead and get things connected up. Our motherboard does have 3 system fan headers, but one of them is in a really awkward place, and each of the fans takes 0.3 amps, and we can use up to 1 amp per fan header, so 3 fans will go easily into one fan header, and I wouldn't recommend doing any more than 3 fans together. So we'll join the front 3 fans together. Okay, so there's the top fan, plug it into the splitter from the second fan down at the front, which I'm then going to go ahead and plug into the bottom fan at the front. Now looking at cable length, I think we're probably going to be okay without adding a splitter cable onto this. It should reach our fan header, which is down at the bottom of the motherboard okay, so we'll go ahead and bring that cable through. Okay, next up I'm going to go ahead and join our top 2 fans together, and then we'll go ahead and take our rear fan and plug it into the top fans. So obviously we are going to need to use our extension cable for here because this is not going to reach the bottom of the motherboard. So we'll go ahead and plug it in and then bring the cable through to the front. Okay, we've got 2 system fan headers down here at the bottom of the motherboard, so we'll go ahead and get the fans plugged in. And then pull the excess cable through to the back. Okay, so that's the CPU cooler and all our fans installed. I did mention I was going to make some additional improvements, and I have made a backplate for our GPU because I think the GPU without a backplate looks absolutely awful, and I can't understand why manufacturers don't spend a few pounds extra and make a backplate. I've made this backplate here for less than £10. We've got some 3mm thick black gloss acrylic, to which I have attached some adhesive magnets to the back. Our GPU has some screws. All I did was set the magnets on to the top of the screws, take the adhesive off, lower our backplate into the place where it needed to go, and then obviously the magnets stuck to the back of the acrylic. I've just added a razor sticker. I had a look and seen what stickers I had available from previous PC parts. I can't remember what the sticker came with, but I added this to the middle and I think it looks pretty good. So to fit it into place, because the wee magnets are there, once it's in place it will line up with the screws in the back of the GPU. There we go. And I think our GPU looks much better already. The other thing that I'm going to add in is a cable extension for the 24-pin connector. Black and white would obviously look much better, but I'm just going with what I have on hand and that I'm unlikely to use in a further PC build, so it's not going to cost me any additional money. So I just need to go ahead and unplug the 24-pin connector coming from our power supply. Go ahead and connect this up to the 24-pin cable extension. Go ahead then and bring the cable extension through the cutout, line it up with the motherboard and push into place. And then we've got some cable combs which are going to help tidy up the cable coming from the extensions. Okay, I think you'll agree that's the PC looking a whole lot better, but is it actually any quieter or cooler? So let's go ahead and get switched on and run the thermal testing. Okay, so I've gone ahead and run the thermal testing and the results are incredibly impressive. It is important to note that my original build temperatures are slightly different from the ones shot in the video 3 months ago. The reason for that is we're having a heat wave in Northern Ireland and ambient temperatures are up by 5 degrees from where they were 3 months ago. So it made sense for me to rerun the baseline tests. It actually only meant that the CPU temperature was 1 degree higher and GPU 2 degrees higher under load, with that increase in ambient temperatures by 5 degrees. Another important thing to mention is I did set up the fans in exactly the same way as what I did in my original build guide. So I used ASRock's fan tuning to find the minimum speed the fans could run at, which was 20%, and then it auto-populated the fan curves. So installing the SILENTIUMPC CPU cooler and fans has made a dramatic difference to our PC. The CPU temperature at idle has come down by 5 degrees, while the CPU temperature under load has come down by a whopping 12 degrees. There was no difference to our GPU temperatures at idle, whereas the GPU temperatures under load have come down by 3 degrees. So while I was expecting a big improvement in our CPU temperatures, I wasn't expecting such a dramatic improvement in noise levels, because we were now adding 8 120mm fans into the build. However, I was very pleasantly surprised. At idle, the noise levels came down by 6 decibels, while under load, noise levels came down by a whopping 11 decibels, with the average noise levels under the IDA64 stability test of only 38 decibels, which makes this the quietest PC I've ever built. So I don't think there's going to be any surprises in my conclusions. I am incredibly impressed with the quality of the CPU cooler and fans. The build quality is excellent and they perform really well. Given that this cooler is only £30, I think it offers incredible value for money. Again, I don't have a price on these fans, but I'm incredibly impressed with a lot of the features. And actually you're getting more features here than you are in some of the premium fans I've used in my builds or reviewed on the channel in the past. So I think if you are in the market for a CPU cooler or fans, check out SILENTIUMPC's products. They're new to the UK, but I think they're going to become a big name. I'll put links to the products in the description if you want to check them out. So hopefully you found the video useful. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching.